What's cracking, everybody? It's your boy Lucky Loco, just hanging out here in the food truck, man. Hope you guys are having a great day. Uh, Happy Father's Day to everybody that is out there taking care of the family and the familia, the oyate, and everybody else, man. As you can see, the title is a Native American actor interview, La Mafia, Little Dog. We're gonna be doing quite a few different things, man. I really appreciate this brother. He comes from acting, modeling, all kinds of cool stuff, man. So it's definitely breaking barriers and definitely something I would like to bring to the channel of the YouTube world. And yeah, I've just been maintaining. When got me 9 to 5, ran into a follower from Yakima, so that was pretty cool. Ran into the homies Jose, so yeah, definitely gonna run out there and go represent, and get everything going, man. So let's see anybody's cracking, see if anybody's coming in. Like it says on the title, interview. It's gonna be dope. And I look forward to branching off with these people from out there in Tejas because it seems pretty cool to have somebody like that in the crew. To have somebody, yeah, just having Native American actors, movies, he's got quite a few different things going on. So yeah, just out here styling and profiling, man. Just out here living it up in Yakima, Washington, man. Well, Wapato, Yakima County. You know what I mean? So it's been beautiful weather. It's been a lot of things going on. I've been working, been doing the food truck. Um, so I'm definitely proud to have a 9 to 5 part-time job, man. It's pretty cool. Unfortunately, California didn't fall through, and that's not too. It's not too bad. Uh, just gonna stay here in Yakima until further things going on, man. Got somebody tapped in, man. I appreciate you guys tapping in. But yeah, it's just interview going on. We're gonna be doing a lot of different things. Let's see. Oh man, what's going on, future brother man? Yeah, I got some interviews coming on with a Native American actor. He's going to be. It's not today. He might jump on the live here in a little bit, but yeah, just cool things. I want to bring more people. I want to do more interviews, even local interviews of the pandemic, of the stuff that's been going on with the drug abuse that's been going through our community. Um, maybe they have a story to share to maybe help others to stay leery from the fake pills that go around. Uh, there's been a lot of deaths in the community through the fentanyl pills that been going around here. One of them was actually, I knew her when she had her kids. I used to feed her through the food truck whenever I used to see her out and about, man. And she had her kids taken, and she just went down a path that was sad. Just all the, like any other story throughout the world, everybody dealing with this pandemic. Got 3 people tapped in, man. I appreciate you guys. um and Bob, man, it's been a long time, brother. Definitely miss you, homie. Good people on this channel. That's the one thing I like about this platform, is having good people, good solid people coming up and coming through. We got Bob, we got Crusted, we got Machete, we got just all the good people coming through and hanging out, man. And it's definitely something I appreciate. But yeah, working 9 to 5. I thought the interview was today. I kind of took a nap, went out and had Father's Day. I was working for Father's Day, so I went and got Father's Day breakfast and all this other stuff. My lady took me out and about. She wined me, dime me. I'm out here representing my team. Got my beaded logos going, man. Look at that. So yeah, so it's a lot of cool stuff going on, man. Trying to get out to Kennewick, out there in the Tri Cities area, and open up at the food hub over there. I just sent the email out. Hopefully, I get to hear something back from that. I started working at Walmart over here in Yakima, so that's pretty dope. Work at the liquor section, and it's weird, but it's not tempting at all. It's just a place to go work, and they're gonna have me cook. Awesome. Here you're working hard, brother. Yeah, it's been a minute, man. I do apologize, man. Just dealing with a lot of stuff that's been going on through my end of the world and my part of the world and the real world that's going on with the boy Lucky Local, Chef Lucky Local. Let me see. I think the homeboy's right here. So let's add him to this stage. There we go. What's up, brother?
Hey, not
How's
much. I just realized that I put myself as Little Sog instead of Little Dog.
What's going on? The people in the chat, Bob Amori, that's everybody. This is Little Dog. He's a Native American actor, Native American model. He does all kinds of stuff, man. And definitely proud to have you jump on and give a little introduction of yourself of the future interviews coming up. If you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and what your tribe and what you do.
All right, well, my name is Lafayama. It's Lafayama Little Dog Murillo. I'm from the Little Dog family in Browning, Montana, the Siksikapi, as well as the uh, Piikani Nations. I'm enrolled in Canada, but I was born in the Browning, Montana.
Oh
Yeah, so
wow!
I was born at IHS. I'm an IHS baby.
Oh wow! Nice. That's super res
Uh,
now.
I know, right? I'm an actor. I do construction here in Texas, but I love acting. It's a passion of mine.
Man, that almost sounds like you're almost doing ceremony, doing construction in Texas. That sounds like a whole sweat lodge in itself.
I know, right? I've been in roofing for
Roofing
maybe
at that.
16
Oh,
years. Well,
oh,
see,
wow.
I don't put them on. I keep my crews busy. That's what I do. That's my job. Keep crews
That's
busy and do all the paperwork.
that's awesome. Yeah, most definitely. That's so cool, man. Yeah, so I appreciate you jumping on, giving an introduction and stuff like that, man. And it's what we could do right now is just chop it up about the reservations, our upbringing, if there's anything that you'd like to share. I grew up on the reservation, and then once I hit like the teens, that's when I left to Colorado.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I was born on the reservation, and then my parents did what we do. We followed the green buffalo up and down the plains.
Yeah,
And then
yeah, yeah.
I ended up back on the reservation through my high school years, and it was rough. I found out later on that a lot of the friends that I made were because they didn't want to fight me.
Oh, really?
And yeah, it was much like Mortal Kombat, It was new male to the ecosystem, so I got to figure out where they fit in at.
Yeah, most definitely. That's why a lot of people don't understand. Like, it's just a native thing. Like, we can't explain it. Like when you're growing up, you go to a new reservation, you're gonna have to get them up. You know what I mean? You're gonna get beat up, you're gonna get jumped, but you're gonna fight back, and then they'll respect you after. And it's like it's our warrior. I don't know. It's in our DNA. Something that we all just don't get along. And for anybody that's on the outside looking in, like all Native Americans don't get along, especially when you're a young warrior coming up. And you know what I mean? People just don't
Yeah.
understand the introduction. It's not a gang mentality. I think it's more of a territorial warrior. You know what I mean? Just something
Yeah, I
different.
think it's more of it would be more like a kind of like something that was handed down, because whenever before that all came along, I mean, because I'm part of the local the DFW stickball team. It's
Yeah, yeah.
DFW Kabucha, and I play Choctaw stickball with a bunch of guys down here. It's really fun and it's enjoyable. We're trying to connect all the communities, but one of the reason what Kabucha means is it was Choctaw for little brother of war, and that's actually what the tribes would the Comanche, the Choctaw, and some of the other Muskogee tribes down this way. They would settle their disputes on the stickball field instead of going to war with each other. And I think there
Oh,
was a small representation of it in or a watered down representation of it on Echo.
oh,
And
okay.
yeah, so but what they would do was they would go out and they would send their best warriors out and they would battle it out on there. It was bloody, it was it was there was a lot of pain going on, but at the end of the day, everybody got to go home.
Yeah, most
And
definitely.
so there were alternative wars that our people would use for instead of being bloody and going to war. Because, you look at the stuff that we had sticks, we had rocks, those weren't weapons of war, they were hunting weapons and tools. And
Yeah,
so, our people weren't always divided that they were. They did have disagreements, but they didn't always kill each other. And so, what I think it is that whenever, they came down, they tried to separate the tribes, which they did successfully, so separate all the tribes, and it created a division and anger to where we all started fighting each other.
yeah,
And
most
so
definitely.
growing up, it kind of that the torment that was handed down from the boarding schools and all that passed down to generations, passed down to us, and so even people who become uh who figure out, hey, I have indigenous bloodline in me, and I actually have it pretty strong. I just never knew. They become angry because they look at everything that's happened to the people, and they kind of get that generational anger starts to build up, and they're like, I've wondered why I was always so angry. And so it's generational pain.
Yeah, most
Mhm.
definitely. I don't know how your upbringing was, but I definitely I survived. I've made an episode, a couple video like one of my like few videos was I survived the survivor of the boarding school. Like I dealt with a lot of
Yeah.
abuse, mental abuse. And I mean, as an adolescent, as a kid, I never had a childhood. So it was always
Yeah.
like I dealt with a lot of abuse. And I was thinking about that when I was watching the the Puff Daddy video where he was smashing on Rihanna. And
Yeah.
my upbringing, I watched my mother go through a lot of domestic abuse.
Mm.
And it was almost like normalized, like we'd be scared in a room or whatever until I got to the age of like 13, 14, where I started becoming a young man. That's when I started sticking up for my mom. I started beating up the abuser, and I didn't win all the fights against him because he was a full grown man. I think he was like 30 something and I'm only 13, 14, and fighting
Yeah.
him, you know what I mean? But I never backed down from him either. I did win, I think, like two of them, but I did like after a while it's kind of like, okay, now this is going to stop. This isn't what's good. Whenever he knew that he started trying to argue with my mom, I'd come in the room and it would stop because he knew
Yeah.
I'm not. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's just I just want to explain a little bit of my part of the story of putting up with the boarding school. You know what I mean? And it seemed like that so for so many like indigenous people that it was like normalized to see that type of violence, to see that type of like upbringing, and then the way people dealt with the traumatized of like self-healing of alcoholism. And at that time growing up, I think it was just marijuana and alcoholism, and you've seen yayo
Mhm.
cocaine a little bit, but it was more marijuana and alcohol, and then it started progressing and started getting into the harder stuff. And but yeah, that was my upbringing. I don't know,
For me,
I
I
just don't
was
want to.
I'm sorry. For me, it was second generation. My mom's mother was a boarding school survivor, and my grandmother had nothing really to do with us. She had a bunch of kids and she abandoned them all, except for one that she took care of, and she used her mostly as a jealousy tool to get the others jealous and whatnot. But you know, anytime she was asked about it, she would just shut down and she wouldn't say anything to anyone. My mom, she was a survivor of what was it? Family services.
Yeah,
uh and this is more or less part of her story and her background. She was a bit aggressive whenever I was around. She's a lot better than she was whenever I was younger, but my mom was more the aggressor. She had a reputation on the reservation for being a man beater. And
yeah,
so, all the men that grew up over there, they were all afraid of her. From back on the res when I was in high school, they were like, "Who's your people? Who's your mom?" I was like, "Bonnie, little dog," and they're like, "Oh, Bonnie, man beater." They were all afraid of her. And
yeah,
so, but it was due to her upbringing because it's more or less something that she would talk about a little bit later on. But she witnessed traumatic events from 2 years old when she was in those boardings, or not in the boarding schools, when she was in foster care.
Oh man.
And she's seen a murder, someone that was close to her. She was forced to watch, and so that kind of trauma would mess anybody up. And
Oh yeah.
so she had it pretty rough, and that kind of passed down whenever I was older, which led to a lot of anger in me, a lot of self-hate. Uh there was a lot of self-doubt as well too, just because it's, hey, bring them down before they have a chance to attack you. That was more or less, some of the things that she grew up with, because she grew up full from all the way till she was 18 on from the time that she was born on the reservation. And then she left and went to Job Corps, and that's where she met my dad, and they had me. uh
Yeah.
and things got better a little bit later on, like around, you know two. She met my stepdad. He was a lot better example than my biological dad, and he taught me how to work hard and always work. But a lot of the mental and physical abuse didn't stop at that point. That didn't stop until, well, a lot of the mental stuff didn't stop until I was like moved out.
Yeah, exactly.
And even then, I still suffered from a lot of anger. I was very quick to anger. I was, if he said something or looked at me wrong, I was ready to snap. And had to do with a lot of self hate as well. And I didn't realize how much of that I was suffering until, I want to say, I was about 22, and I went and stayed in Arizona with some of my friends. I actually wrestled with her in high school. And
Nice.
she invited me out there. I stayed with her for a little bit, her and her mom. And during that time, she was taking psychology classes, and she hated them, but I was good at them. So I went ahead and did her classes for her. And college psychology is something else. It's about self help. You got to work on yourself in order to get a good grade on it. And
Oh
so
wow.
I learned a lot. I didn't implement it, but I learned a lot. And then I got into door to door sales, traveled around the country selling kids' books and magazines. And then after I finished that, I started traveling around on my own after I went back to, because I joined up with them from Arizona. They sent me back, and then I started traveling around on my own. And during that time, I did a lot of reflecting because I traveled by myself. And it was actually during that time that I was able to implement, everything that I learned in her class, all the psychology stuff. And I started changing. I was no longer the angry person that I used to be. I started being more content and satisfied with myself. And it's been a long journey. I mean, I just recently, up to last year, I was still struggling with stuff. And, uh, I could feel myself being a better person than I used to be. The reservation brings out some of the worst in people. One of the guys that was more or less a bully towards me when I got there, whenever he left and he moved, he's down here in Texas, he's on the oil fields. He's like, hey man, I'm sorry about back then. The reservation just brings out the worst in all of us. I'm really sorry about the way that we were about whenever you were new, and I was a dick.
Yeah.
And all the fights that we got into, and I was like, hey man, it's not a problem. That's just the way the res is. That's how you survive. You're not taught to any other way. You're taught, hey, you got to be a warrior. You got to fight.
Yeah, for sure. And it is like it's like for me, like it was always violence. Like it was always like it was it was I don't know, that's the way I dealt with things. Just like you said, it was quick to anger. And I know it was self hate too, because it was more of like an embarrassment of like how, because there's ghetto and then there's reservation, like ghetto. And that's basically what I was like, poverty stricken, alcoholic mother, absent father. And, when you grow up, when you're the oldest child and trying to grow up and raise your siblings as well. And it was just that, it's something that I've never put my kids through. You know what I mean? Something that they taught me. There was this native dude I was in prison with. His name was David Rice. He was from the Kickapoo Nation, and he did as like say how me and you were talking, but I would speak it like angrily. Like I tell. He's
Mhm.
like, I can tell you're really pissed about your past. Like, and he was just like, You look at it this way. He was like, when you raise your kids, you don't have to put them through that.
Hmm.
And I never thought of that. And he was like, you don't have to, there's something they taught you how not to raise a kid. They taught you how to, um, how it was like a lot of stuff. Like he talked the way me and him used to talk. He started me on the red road. I started going to Sweat Lodge for the first time. I started learning the Lakota songs, and then I just started getting more back into my roots. And then it was just like it was nice, like to have somebody like that by your side instead of influencing your head and like, yeah, keep it up. That's down. That you keep doing what you're doing, and then when it's not, like as you're a kid growing up, and I'm still growing up. I'm still learning. I'm still
For
susceptible
sure.
to the negatives, the positives, the tragedies, the heartbreaks, the smiles, the laughs. But yeah, I appreciate talking with somebody that grew up on the reservation, and you know that kind of has this similarities, even though we're not in the same res. But there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes too that a lot of people don't even like to talk about too. So
Oh
yeah,
yeah. Like on mine, what was really bad whenever I had moved away and even when I was over there was actually crystal meth. That's one of the big ones on mine. And I didn't know that, but whenever I had left Texas, because I did have to leave Texas for a while before I started selling magazines, because I started getting into although my anger was getting the best of me before I left Texas. And I was doing some not so legal things, and a lot of this could have ended up me in a behind bars as well.
well,
But
allegedly. So if anybody's watching, allegedly you did something.
allegedly,
Yeah, there you
allegedly, I
go.
did things that could have ended me up behind bars. So,
Yeah.
uh, and so that's why I'm really glad that things have turn around. That I'm no longer on that path. I'm no longer that angry person anymore. It started back then, and it's continued to where I'm at now. Back then, if somebody was like looking at me the wrong way, those were fighting words.
Yeah, most definitely.
It's time to put your fists up, and defend yourself because you disrespected me by looking at me that way.
Yeah.
And if somebody made a snarky comment, I was ready to fight. Uh, I was getting into some bad crowds around here, and so whenever I left, I left. It wasn't. It wasn't by choice that I left. It was kind of more of an ultimatum. It was by choice, but at the end, it was like, hey, if I don't leave, something bad's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And so I left. I was doing a pool cleaning business. I was in a cash only business, so I had justification. But I started getting a little paranoid. I started. Uh, I knew that I was being watched. I knew different things were going on, and so I was like, you know what? I'm done. I'm out. I left to Arizona. And when I was there, I did struggle with a lot of anger stuff, but it was really humbling because I was living with other people and I was having to walk to work and all this other stuff. And I was just cleaning up my life. And then, her mom ended up wanting more and more money out of me to where she was taking my whole check. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to stay here anymore. I'm not going to be disrespected like this. So before I try to get angry, let me just leave. And so that's whenever I saw the ad, I called them. They got me in and got me a ticket, and I was out in Oklahoma about a week or two later, and I started selling magazines. Man, I was terrible at it at first. I was really
Yeah.
bad because I didn't want to go up to a door. I would go up to a door and I'd be like, nah, they're not gonna buy from me anyways. And I got in arguments with people at the door.
Yeah.
And that wasn't good either because they were calling the cops on me, and I was like trying to leave real as fast as I could. And
Yeah.
so but that year I still made about 89,000 selling
Nice.
magazines.
Yeah, that's
And
cool.
then and then after that, whenever I was traveling around, that's whenever I started learning more about myself. I stopped being angry. That was whenever I stopped being angry. But I was still angry at my biological dad. And then about 3 years ago, I actually got to meet him because he was going to have brain surgery. And so I went up to Wyoming. I was like, okay, well, you know what? It was going to pass. I might as well meet him. And so I went up there, I met him, and all those times that, I was told, you look just like your dad, you act just like him, and all this other stuff. And I finally got to meet him, and this was after he settled down because he was a vato in his past.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh, but he settled down and he was doing much better. He had been settled down for about 15 years, and he was cool as hell, man.
Yeah.
He talked like me. I found out that, I got my sense of style from him. I got, I love to wear fedoras.
Yeah,
and
yeah, I've seen that.
and then I went up there, he had like five different fedoras. I was like, oh man, this is awesome. We had so much in common and it was just so cool. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, I kind of am like him. It's kind of cool in that way.
Yeah.
And so but I had a lot of forgotten trauma that I didn't think about anymore. Like pre middle school, I don't really have much memories of that time. You know, a lot of stuff is blocked out, but I knew that I was going through seasonal depression every fourth quarter of the year. I was going through depression, no matter what was going on, no matter how good things were going. I just fall into depression. I could not explain it. And for me, what it ended up being was now, I'm really thankful that my stepdad he he stood up and he was there as a dad for me since I was two, and so I'm really grateful for that. But whenever I was looking at old family videos, because my biological dad, he passed away last year
Yeah.
after 3 years of dealing with cancer, and you know it was rough because I started feeling a lot of old pain come up. And I don't really cry. I don't cry much or anything like that. But whenever I kept thinking about it, it kept bringing tears to my eyes, kept making me sad. And then one day, my half brother, sent me a video of old family videos from them. And I looked at him. I was like, wow, my mom has a type. They could almost look exactly like each other, like they were brothers. Sorry, my wife's cooking.
Oh man.
Give me 1 minute.
Yeah.
All right, sorry about that. I didn't want y'all hearing
Yeah.
that beeping.
No, it's all good. He
uh,
said she's
she's
the
probably cooking water. That's what I always say
water.
to my wife.
Oh
But
man.
anyway, so I started looking at them side by side, and I was like, they look almost exactly alike. And so one thing I remembered was whenever my mom said that we first met him, I walked up to him. I said, "Look, mom, there's my daddy right there." I was like, man, you know what? Around that time is whenever they had separated. She left and she met my stepdad, and that's whenever I took and brought him in. And yes, he was my dad, but he wasn't my biological dad that I grew up with for 2 years.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
that's whenever I started feeling that, and I was like, dang. So that's where all that depression came from. And so since then, I've gone. Actually, no, it's actually been 2 years since he was gone. Dang. Last year, I didn't go through the depression. After I got it out of my system, the depression went away. That the rest of that fourth quarter, I was fine. I haven't gone through it in the past year. I haven't been back to it where I feel that deep sadness anymore. And so I started getting into different type of traumas and pain that our people go through, and that's when I started getting into generational trauma, and I started checking out and doing a bunch of different research, such as they've been able to take some of our DNA, take a digital book, upload it into our DNA, and it only take a very small amount of our DNA to do it, and so that means that all the stuff that our upline of our family went through, we still kind of suffer through that kind of trauma
Yeah.
just because DNA has memory.
That's fucking crazy. That's
And
crazy.
so,
I didn't even know that. That's pretty cool.
yeah. And
Well, I'm not cool,
so
but it's, I mean, it's, yeah, it's
it's kind
intriguing.
of it's kind of cool to kind of see where it's coming from, right? Because
Yeah.
we're all angry, and a lot of times people ask us, "Well, why are you angry?" I don't know. The world did this. The world did that. The world didn't do anything. We don't know why we're angry. We're
Yeah,
angry because of what happened.
yeah. We want our
And
land back.
so,
We want our land
exactly. I don't want to buy it back from Home Depot. No.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, we were just talking about.
10-pound bag at a time. No.
Yeah, 10 pound bag at a time. Yeah,
And
that is
so,
so cool. Yeah, I didn't know that. Yeah, that went on, man. Because which kind of explains a lot. Because if it does have memory, because I do have my father's mannerisms, and even his laugh. Like I never grew up with the guy at all, and and I got like you said that, like, oh, you look like your dad. Blah, blah, he's a loser, and then it's like, well, what are you calling me? Like you know what
yeah.
I mean? I was just like, what the fuck? It wasn't me that made me. You you helped me create this. You know what I mean? So it's just like, but yeah, I kind of got to know my dad through uh, a prison letter he wrote. Um, Built a relationship from there, and that we don't have the best relationship, but he's still my dad, and I had to keep my distance, and it's just like I
No, I
so
understand.
yeah.
Yeah, mine, luckily I was, he met somebody and she was able to her name's Connie. She was able to settle him down, get him out of his gangster days. And
Yeah,
he used to have his plaque on his shoulder, OG Vatos Locos. And
yeah,
so my mom, she was running around gangbanging with him whenever she was younger. They met in what was it? Job Corps. That's where they met.
yeah,
And they were doing allegedly questionable stuff back then too.
yeah.
And so
What's up
it's
with
something that just kind of ran down the line.
yeah.
And
So
so
with all this traveling and stuff, man, what would you say your best experience you got from that, besides like the sales, and would build that character to be able to just go on the whim of like, hey, I'm taking off to Oklahoma, I'm taking off to Arizona. Is it you know
it was
would
trust me, if I had never had to leave Texas, I probably would have never got into sales, would have never did any of that. I was okay with a secure job for a little bit, but if I had never gotten in trouble, I don't think I would have ever left. But it was it's been great, because I don't worry about a lot of different things. I feel like things are just taken care of for me. I'll go up to Oklahoma. I've gone up and back to Montana several times. About to be going to Florida. When I was traveling around, I think my favorite place was Hawaii. I
dang, I
went
ain't been there
there.
yet.
Yeah, I went down there. It was pretty fun. I was a bit chubbier back then and everything, and my hair used to be really, really curly, which was very odd until it got too hot and I had to shave it all off, and then it grew back kind of more straight. But it was real curly. So when I was up there, I'm only about 5'10". Most of those guys up there, over 6 feet tall. And
Oh
one of
man,
them
I
was
bet.
like, one guy, he looked just like me. He was like, "Hey, mini me." What are you doing at the tourist place? Let's go party with the rest of us.
Hey, mini me.
And when I
I
say those
don't,
guys
man.
can drink, man, those guys can drink. Those guys can
Dang,
party. I don't remember most of it, but they
man,
can
that is
party.
crazy. So you got to meet the indigenous people of Hawaii too?
I got to meet a couple of them, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, a couple of them that I remember. I
yeah.
think I met a lot more, but I don't remember. It got a little too messed up.
Man,
But
yeah, because
it's
like
been fun.
the brother right here on the screen right here, Bob, he's from New Zealand. He's a native from out there, and he has his face tatted with his tribal designs, like of his traditional tribal designs. Really great dude, man. He's out
Nice.
there. He's indigenous brother from out there too, and yeah, he's got a great channel too. He great dude, man. We all met through, like I was telling you about, like the prison channels and stuff I used to that I watch. And I was gonna go with that, and then I was like, you know what? There's too many people out there. There's only so many stories I can tell without, you know what I mean, without pissing
Yeah.
people out. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to insult people. I don't want to upset anybody. And I'm just, because most of the people that do have to live in fear, because a lot of these people that they talk about, But the people behind the walls like don't like that, and you know, if they catch them at the right time, I don't want that.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? I don't want that type of drama. I want to keep, like I was telling you before, it's prison is my past. I don't live there no more. It's a part of my story, but I'm also attracting other people into my life. I got you. I got these people that subscribers. I got supporters. The energy I put out is different than the energy as we were talking about the anger. Like people didn't like to be around me because I was violent. You know what I mean? I was very, like you said, the fuck you looking at? Like, you know, and then if they said something back, then it was talking was done. It was like, all right, let's get it. Like, even if they didn't want it, it was just like, I was looking for reasons. And I think it was more, almost like a suicidal wish type thing. You know what I mean? To where I put myself out in
Yeah.
the front line and, you know, and it wasn't people that I was like bullying. It was like other people that were like me. Like, you know, I could tell they were Fato Locos, crazy fuckers. You know what I mean? It wasn't like
Yeah.
some guy sitting at a library reading a book. Fuck you looking at? You know, I was just like, man, there's so.
Yeah,
But yeah, I built
lots
my
of people ask
reputation. Yeah,
me.
I built my
Go ahead.
reputation in Colorado for getting them up. You know what I mean? It was like people
Yeah.
knew, like, oh shit, they're making that drunk face again. Yeah, then it was just like it was crazy. So,
Yeah.
but
People ask me what it was like growing up on the reservation, or going through the years that I went through, and I tell them it's like Mortal Kombat. You gotta fight your way up the ladder
get
you
your
gotta
way
go up
up
the
to the
towers.
leader, finish him. Well, yeah, most definitely. I mean, it was a, you know, it was a life learning experience, and you know, a lot of people are like, well, it built who you are today, Lucky Loco, and stuff. I just wish I never had to go through that to become a good person. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? You know, we all grow up good, but there's some type of influence that will get you. And, you know, and with my kids now, like I said, they don't see the abandonment. They don't see the abuse. They don't see the mental abuse, the physical abuse. They don't see drugs and alcohol in the house. I'm sober. Um,
That's
you know, we don't hang around with people that do drink. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just that for me, I'm an alcoholic, so I refuse to. And it's cool because I put off that vibe of like, oh well, he doesn't drink, so I'm not going to call him. So you know, I'm not going to call him to this party because he's not going to come because you don't, you know. And I appreciate that stuff. People get mad like, oh, all my old drinking buddies are gone. Yeah, because that's your drinking buddy. You know what I mean?
yeah.
It's now I'm more in tune, like you said, with this journey of just attracting, putting out a positive vibe. Try to look the world, my fears. My basically is my fears, admitting that I'm weak, admitting that I have flaws, admitting that you know, before I would think about it and be like, man, I'm not, I don't want to put that image out there because there's somebody, like you said, that Mortal Kombat thing is real.
Yeah.
There's somebody that will come and beat my ass or shoot me down. You know what I mean? It's just like it's out
Yeah,
there,
for
and
sure.
it's you know, when we were younger, sure, but when you're getting older and you got kids with you, and you know, when you got something to live for now, you know, it's
Sure, yeah. And same with my kids. My kids suffer from first world problems. They don't suffer from the same things, that I went through. I create a good life for them, and sometimes it comes off a little as over spoiling.
yeah.
And then I got to rebalance it out and be like, "Hey, you're not a spoiled kid. You need to
Take off the
respect
belt. No,
everybody."
just kidding. No, yeah, that's it's love. It's love and nature, love and nurturing, and it makes me feel good to know that
For sure.
you know, given you know, and you know, having a talk with my son um the other day, and he brought up his birthday party, and he remembers all this stuff I got him for his birthday, and I remember I just finished paying my rent, my bills, and I had $35 to my name. And I was like, man, I got his birthday's here in a couple days, and the my work called me and was like, hey, you need to come pick up your check. I was like, I already picked it up. They're like, no, you got your commission check now. I was working for T-Mobile, and I was like, oh, I get a commission check too. They're like, yeah, and I went and got that, and it was like twice as much as my hourly check, and I was like, oh man, cool. So I went and cashed it, and I went and got my son everything that I wanted. I remember walking as a kid, like, can I have that? No. Can I have that? No. Can I? I just remember just like, and got the cakes and got all this stuff, and I know he remembers it, and I know that that will bring him joy too. You know what I mean? It's at the point of time of being with him and spoiling him.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
It's things that they remember for a long time, and that creates memories for them, And it's
yeah,
good because I want my kids to remember me as in a positive. I don't want them to be like, oh, my dad was, he was a jerk. My dad, he was mean. I don't want that with my kids. I want my kids to be like, yeah, my dad was awesome. you know.
yeah, for sure. Yeah,
and
most definitely.
but about a year ago, I actually started acting, and that's how I got into it. Was March 6th was my first time on set for an actual film production.
Yeah.
And the way I heard about it was this lady that her name's Audrika Young. She was doing background for a show called Lawman Bass Reeves on Paramount Plus.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, she came up, and I was at a powwow, and I was helping my friend's company. And so what we were doing was we were putting birdhouses together with kids. And she was like, hey, they need more indigenous people as background actors for this show. Would you guys be interested? And my wife was like, yeah, she'd been trying to get into acting for a while. And so she was like, yeah, I do want to do it. And she was like, but I don't want to do it by myself. And I was like, well, I'm trying to get this construction company off the ground and all this other stuff, trying to help out. And she's like, yeah, but I really don't want to do it by myself. I was like, okay, well, I'll do it with you then. So I did Bass Reeves. I was booked for 3 days. And then I got booked for another day. And then I got booked for another 2 days. and
Gotcha.
it just kind of kept going from there. After that, I kept seeing booking after booking requests. And they just kept rolling in. And everybody's like, you have a great look. And I was like, oh, I appreciate it. I
That's
didn't know what that
awesome,
meant.
dude. Yeah, yeah,
and
most definitely.
it was definitely life changing because at the time I was well over 300 pounds. I was trying to help out with the company, but honestly, after being in roofing for so long, and honestly, it's a very cutthroat business to be in. It's all about trust, but a lot of times people end up trusting the wrong person. So then it makes it more difficult for everybody else who's legitimate. And
Yeah,
so, then I come along and I'm trying to legit do my job, and people are trying to rip me off now. and
yeah,
so I was just everything was on repeat, not a pilot. And so whenever I got into the acting, I started to care about my image again. I'm down 100 pounds, trying to get back to my old fight weight. I know I'm not going to hit it, but as close as I can get for some of the roles that I'm trying to get. Because I would
yeah,
love to play Nightwolf in, in an actual Mortal Kombat movie.
yeah. Right.
and so, but you know, I got onto Landman. Landman's the more recent one that I've been on. You had our mutual friend in here, Marcus. He gave me one of my first speaking roles, actually. And
Nice, dude.
so I have a TV show that I'm working on that I can't announce the name of that one yet, but I wrote one of the episodes for it. The director was like, hey, we need some help. We're just going to keep it small for at first because the option was to either bring in two Hollywood stars and pay them or just keep it with us. And so we decided to keep it with us. And so I helped out with writing one of the episodes. Mine's complete. We're going to be filming later on, but that one's going to be a TV series I'm a main cast for. We did a sample pilot before American Coyote came out, but it
Yeah,
hasn't been released, and it was a sample pilot. And so it's not something that's ever going to actually be released. So my first actual speaking credit goes to American Coyote.
nice.
So
And he's an awesome dude too, man. Like I follow him on like and it's crazy. I don't even know how we got to know each other on Facebook, but I think I added him or he added me. And then after that, I started watching his stuff, and I was like, man, I should try to reach out and see if he wants to do an interview.
Yeah.
And sure enough, and and he blessed me, and you blessed me, and and it's been awesome, and just dealing with life and dealing with a lot of stuff, and with the uh, being able to jump on YouTube again, and which I want to pursue and start doing more interviews. The whole thing is like I
Sure.
said, I wanted to do something for, like, I was gonna copycat everybody else that I watched, and I was like, you know what, let's just be unique, go with the flow. And what I want to do is put on more indigenous entrepreneurs, people who, the acting, and and we can. Well, I kind of want to stop you on the story of your acting right now, so we can
Mhm.
share it when we get your producer and everything back on, and
Okay.
then it's like right now we could do, like, get to know who you are, because I do have followers on here too that are awesome, great people that'll rewatch the thing, or they'll be like, "Hey, I was at work and I'm watching it now," and but it's the channel. I decided, I was just like, man, I'm staying out of the mix, because I follow people on YouTube, and people get into it and they'll start drama and start making videos on each other, and I was just like, man, I just don't want that. Like, I don't want that type of energy. I don't want. So I decided to stay clear of gang. Like, I'll bring it up once in a while, but it's not going to be my main focus of talking of
Mhm.
gangs and talking of prison, and it's just that I don't want to be. Yeah, I don't want to be looked at or sought for. You know what I mean? I
Mhm.
know I do. I'm in my food truck right now. It's not the best one. It's a Resmobile, but it pumps out the best food around here. People see it. It's an ugly red trailer, but they're like, "Man, look, he's here. He's back in town, and he's back in business." And people come in, and I'll sell out, and just working these steps, and getting back into the mindset of loving what I do. I need that
Okay.
break. I need that break to love what I do and pursue that goal. And if it happens, it happens. If it don't, it don't. I'll still keep going. You know what I mean?
Sure. And
And
And for me, I'm the kind of person that, if the more network I build, the more ties I build. I love helping my friends out. I love helping out people who have networked with me, especially whenever I needed the support, because that's all this is really, is just all networking. It's, building friendship, building ties, and then helping lift each other up. I don't like the whole separation that most uh I see a lot of actors and a lot of, producers, a lot of writers, a lot of other people that start backbiting each other, starting to, start drama because it is very competitive. I'm I'm not that kind of person. I like to, because I've been in business, I've been in roofing for a while, and it's all about networking. And so I like to build my network up. I don't like to tear my network down, and I don't like to push other people down to make myself look better,
yeah, most definitely. If you got to do that, there's something wrong with you. Like, you got to, I don't know, especially in the legit world, to where, because I know that I hear so many stories about me from people. They come, "Oh, this person was saying this about you," and I was like, I don't care. I'm like, I'm not hard to find. I mean, if they really had a problem with me, I post where I'm at all the time. Like, I don't, you know, and some people will dislike me, and I can't do nothing about it. I can't. I'm not going to jump through hoops. I'm moving on. I'm moving on to these people that do enjoy my company. I do, that enjoy my food. And other people come up to me and they tell me about other. I don't even call them competition, but other, entrepreneurs that sell almost the same food as me, and
hmm
they're like, "Oh, this happened," and I don't ever get on social media and start posting, "Oh, this person told me." This, and like how some, because I see the shots people take at me on, when they, I'm like, that's cool. If that's how you got to do it, then run with it.
right.
I still have my supporters. I still have people that will drive from, an hour away to come get my food. And, I get inbox all the time, like, "Hey, are you selling today?" It's like, "No, today I'm taking my day off and I'm going to go out. I'll go out tomorrow and the day after. Then I go back to work." And then same thing. I'm just gonna keep going and stack this money, and
Mhm.
save up for what I got to do. But yeah.
That's how you do
So
it.
you're enrolled in Canada. You were saying that's
Yes, I'm enrolled in Brockett, Alberta,
really.
and
'Cause I'm Canadian. I'm Canadian. I got dual citizenship. I can go. It's called the J Treaty. So
yeah.
a lot of people don't. Canadians can come down here and live and work.
Hmm.
Native Canadians, and if you're enrolled up there, you can come down here and make a living. And the messed up part is like when I did get caught doing my crimes, they came. INS came and was like, "Hey, we're going to deport you back to Canada." I was like, "Cool, all right." And then they came back. They're like, "Never mind. You got dual citizenship. We can't do that." And
Yeah.
then I was like, "There's like usually." I was like, "What do you mean?" Because I didn't even know. And they were like, "Yeah, if you come down, if we put send you up there, you can just cross the border whenever you want, and we can't even stop you." And so that people ask, "Hey, you got a felony? How you going back to Canada and coming back over here?" It's like, "Well, I'm Canadian. Born out there, raised in Colorado." And it's just like it's like back and forth. And yeah, so when you said you were enrolled in Canada and Alberta, I actually met I work out Walmart at the liquor store,
Hmm.
and this correctional officer from Alberta came in and he's like showing me his badge because you got to ask everybody for ID. I was like, no, I need your real ID. And then he pulled out as a Canadian. I was like, oh, punched in his birth date or whatever. And then and I was like, hey, you gave me his phone number. I texted him, and I started picking his brain, and because I will talk about like other like the Canadian prison or whatever, and he was like telling me about all these different like prison gangs. And then he was telling me, I was like, well, which one is the most violent one that's in the Canadian system? And he was like, the Aboriginals, the Native Americans. They're really violent. He's like, they're really holding it down. He's like, they really know how to run business in there, and that's what they do. And then I was just like, okay, we'll be willing to do an interview. And he's like, yeah, yeah, text me. And I text him and talk with him. So I'm going to have one come on for that too and talk about how
Nice.
the Canadian prison is ran, because a lot of people think Canada's sweet. They go up, they think that is, like all like moose and beavers,
Sorry,
not
eh?
knowing that there's yeah, that it's all just hockey, and then they don't see the underworld, which is, you know what I mean, just because they don't,
Yeah.
it's I guess you can't say glamorized. It's not like you can't make a movie like Colors up there, but there's a lot of stuff that does go on behind the scenes. And in the '90s, growing up in Canada, you see a lot of stuff and go through a lot of stuff up there too. So
Oh
a
yeah.
lot of people got the misconception of Canadians that there's nothing going on up there, and there is. Like you see it. I was up there, and you see it in a lot of like the Vancouver area was run by like the Punjab, the East Indians. They were,
Yeah.
and they got lowriders, bro. It was nuts. They got lowriders, they got Cadillacs. They were all cruising by. I was like, what the fuck? Like I see these Buick Regals, these Cutlass Supremes. I see these Cadillacs, all these beautiful lowriders going by, and they all had turbines, and you could just how somebody, when you read somebody's body language, you could
Yeah.
tell they were about that business. They were just cruising by, and I was like, oh shit. Like, and they do run a lot of the underworld. Like it has been like that since, man. And then once the Iranians came over, and they don't get along, and they started like
Mhm.
offing each other like crazy. And I lost a few friends from that battle that went on. Of, and that's why I was intrigued about when you said, I'm from Canada. Like, oh, that's cool, man. So,
Yeah. Whenever I was a bit younger, a lot of drama started up on the res, so we ended up coming back down here to Texas, and I rode the bus down. And I came down with a bunch of natives, and they all thought I was getting off in Oklahoma with them. And like all the indigenous people just got off in Oklahoma, and they're like, "You're not getting off with this?" I was like, "No, I'm going to Texas." They're like, "Oh, you're turning Mexican."
oh dang.
I was like, "I'm not turning Mexican." They're like, "Oh yeah, just wait till you cross that Red River." you're turning Mexican. They're gonna start speaking Spanish to you and everything. And I was like, whatever, man. So I was like, I'll catch y'all later. So sure enough, the first bus stop in Texas, they start speaking Spanish to me. And I didn't know Spanish, and and I was like, no habla español. And they looked at me and
Mentira,
I'm a Mexican, man. And then so the very first phrase that I picked up in Spanish was Lo siento, yo hablaba no, poco español, porque yo soy nativo indio. Sorry, I don't speak very much Spanish. I'm Native American.
Yeah.
It works too. After that, they started being like, "Ah, you real American," and they all started trying to speak English to me. Before then, they didn't want to speak English to me.
Yeah. I know when I was in the prison system, they're like, your last name's Bob. And I was like, you're like, your last name's Sandoval or Martinez. You ain't no fucking Bob. I was just like, all right. What? I was just like, all right. But going from the reservation to like how you said, I was on the West Coast too. I was in Colorado and learning. I got to, grow up with people from the barrio, and it was just there's a lot of more similarities than there is differences with the gente, the raza to us
Yeah,
and them. There's not really there's a lot of like I said, there's a lot of similarities. I was just like, dang, like the tortillas to fry bread to just all these different things and just how the cultural like the house set of rules of like the grandma's the most important. You know what I mean? You're in there,
yeah,
you listen to your elders, and a lot of the stuff is like that. To where like I was like, dang, this is pretty close. You know what I mean? The
yeah.
Salvesas, you know what I mean? It was it was just like I from growing up with I always tell people I got brown washed. I got more uh with the cholo, the Mexican people, and it was like, and then I got the lingo, the swag, the stilo, and then a lot of people will, like you said, will like, hey, like, oh fuck, I don't know how to speak. Yeah, so it's but yeah,
So
man. So being out there in Texas, what tribes are out there? Are you on the reservation out there, or are you just out there in the?
I'm over here in Fort Worth. There are some tribes down south. I haven't really. I know a couple of them, but there's not really an actual reservation. They're recognized. The Caddo tribe is recognized by the UN, but they're not recognized by the US.
Oh, okay.
Crazy enough, but and I know that last update I got from them, they were fighting. I think it was Elon Musk and Donald Trump over their land because they wanted to build a solar farm on it,
Oh, okay.
and so they still fight capitalists.
Yeah, most definitely.
Um, But over here, it's kind of like a melting pot. We get a lot of people from all sorts of tribes. There's Choctaw. There's, the Mississippi Band Choctaw. There's a lot of Cherokee down here. There's Kickapoo. The people that I play stickball with is from all over the place. We got Kickapoo, Choctaw, Mississippi Band. We have some Cherokees. We also have some Apaches that we play, some Dene. And so
Nice.
they're from all over the place. It's just but there is an well, call it intertribal center, but it's a they call it Texas Native Health now. Just got renamed, and they put on a lot of events for the indigenous people around here, like beading classworks, making dream catchers, making drums, stickball events for the kids to teach them how to play. Every Sunday I play stickball. Uh,
Nice.
I just recovered from 3 broken ribs not so long ago.
Oh man. Yeah.
It was a little rough.
Is it like lacrosse or?
It's the precursor to lacrosse. We play with two sticks.
Wow.
We play
Okay.
with two sticks. So if you would take like lacrosse, add in rugby, subtract the pads, it's pretty much what it is.
Oh wow. So yeah, that's definitely a rough sport because yeah, I grew up playing lacrosse too. So I know I broke people's
Goodness.
ribs. I had broke people's arms and collarbones.
Oh
It's
yeah.
a we get, I mean, and that's with pads. You know what I mean? That's with pads on, and and
And every year, we play at the Dickies Arena here in Fort Worth. There's a professional team here called the Panther City Lacrosse Team, and they'll have us out on their Back to Origins, which is usually the first weekend of April, and we play over there at the Dickies Arena.
nice,
After like this last year, played after they finished. The year before then, we played at their halftime,
nice.
and
That's what's
so
up.
but it was pretty fun. I couldn't pass it up. I had a broken rib still, and I was like, well, it's feeling a little bit better. If I don't take any hits, I'll be okay. And then I
Yeah.
literally broke it while I was playing. So after the game, I rose my arm up and I was just pushing all my ribs back in place.
Dang. Yeah, that's pretty cool, man. Because when I went to California, when I was out in the Oakland area, they have a Native American center out there in Oakland, and it was I forget how like spoiled it is to be on the reservation to see other natives like all the time. Like I look out the window and see my neighbors, like, hey, what's up? Or go to the store and see everybody, and then going from Colorado to here to Washington State was like a big like culture shock for me too because you would see natives here and there, and it was like a big thing. Like if you're walking down the street, and oh shit, brother, what's up? Like start talking. What tribe you from? Hey, what's start talking, and then hang out with them or whatever. And it was just like, and then you go from like hardly seeing natives to I'm over here on the Yakama Nation reservation now, and I see them all the time, and then they think I'm Yakama Nation too, and they're like, "Oh, hey," and I'm just like, all right, whatever. I get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're really good people here, man, and it's they and going from seeing that to going to California and seeing the cultural center over there that does the powwows, the songs, the photography, just all these different things, the events they hold on, and it started from the replacement program they did back in like the 70s, I think it was. They shipped all these different natives to all these different cities
Yeah.
and to go Job Corps and all this other stuff. And they shipped them like all over. And then they ended up staying in that area, like in the Oakland and the Bay Area, the California, the Southern California, just all these different big cities. And, you know, um, so it's kind of like you get spoiled. But I remember coming to Colorado to this reservation and seeing natives everywhere, and I was all like, "Oh, hey, what's up?" Like everyone's like, "Who the fuck is this weirdo?" Being all happy, and I was so happy to see other natives, and then I started realizing why nobody was like really like intrigued to see me back, and I was like, "Holy shit, there's all kinds of natives here." No wonder why nobody gave a shit when I was all like, "Oh, what's up, hey?" And they're like, "Gosh, like what? What's up?" Like, "Oh, okay, never mind." So it's it's
Yeah.
some crazy stuff, man. But yeah, I really appreciate this introduction of you right now, and then I'll make the thumbnail. I would definitely want to uh do a couple parts of interviews with you if you'd be interested in that too, and start talking more of the acting, because the next one is the introduction of you. I want to do like a story of like breaking barriers.
Okay.
I want to hear the whole story of like what like you said, the first talking role of the movie I seen where somebody was grabbing you by your face, and
Yeah.
it's pretty cool. Like I was watching the video, and they're all like, I was like, dang,
That was for the film that Marcus was on here for.
yeah, yeah. I seen that. I was like, oh shit. I was like, all right, and then but yeah, I definitely because because like we are breaking barriers. We're music wise, movies, TV shows. We're no longer looked at as Tonto. We're not no longer looked as the stereotypical stuff that Hollywood really made us look really foolish and really ignorant. You know what I mean? When we're not, we're the ones that help these people survive a winter to
Hmm.
we this is how I don't know how to survive now, but my ancestors did. You know what I mean? If I were
Yeah.
put back there, I'd be so lost and fat and trying to run around and but it's we're breaking barriers. We're getting rid of that, like with Reservation Dogs. I'm just
Yeah.
watching it again for like the third time, and it makes me happy to see somebody break off from YouTube to making movies now because William Knifeman, that character, that's him. You know what I mean?
That was
He's
great.
such an
Yeah.
idiot. He's so fucking funny, but it's also like he'll get like serious and he'll be like, no, I'm just fucking with you. Like, and we all know somebody on the res that's like that. That's super happy, outgoing, goofy, and it's just it's cool to see that. And then you see the kids, the girls wearing basketball shorts with them, t-shirt and it's the reservation, and it's like they're not making it look bad. They're not making it look make us look stupid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, Hollywood people will feed off of that and be like, oh, that's how they are, or and the misreputation of us. And I'm glad to see you in the film world. My cousin, he's out there and he's always trying to get in movies. He's been on Netflix, I think twice, is just like in the background. Like if you see him and I was watching, I was like, oh fuck, that's my cousin right there. Like that's so cool. And I see they watch another Netflix show and then I see him again. I'm like, what the fuck? That's pretty cool. Like, and I inbox him, hey, you fucking say you're on that movie for like 5 seconds. That's pretty cool. You know, and, and
Yeah,
it's
I was joking around with him. I was like, I'm in so many background things. I'm about to start a thing saying, a little competition. Where's Laffy? Instead of where's Waldo?
yeah,
Where's the lock? There he is. No.
yeah. So it's yeah, so yeah, it'll be nice. We'll set something up for like next week, and then we'll get the um yeah, we'll get the introduction of the acting right now. Really appreciate you opening up to the audience and to everybody else. How we overcame trauma, how we overcame our self hate, and a lot of us don't. A lot of us don't get over it, and a lot of us do end up on the ending our lives with bottles or drugs or just unaliving themselves
Yeah.
to children dealing with trauma, then that they're putting all this weight on their shoulders and they don't have nobody to turn to. There's not role models that and it's sad. It's part of the just all this stuff that we go through to become adults. And this next generation that we have, that the kids that we're having, and the ones that we're raising, they're not going to go through that. You know what I mean? They're going to be able to have a dad like you to talk to, or an uncle, you know what I mean, to open up to. And and with my kids, it's I just want them to know that they do have a dad, a role model, somebody to look up to, somebody that does care about the community as well. And it breaks my heart to see so many people that don't get to make it past the trauma like we did. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And it took a while. It took a long time to admit that I fucking hated myself. You know what I mean? And it took a long time. And me, I'm a big old crybaby. I'll cry about shit. It's you know what I mean. I'm just like, "Oh, man,
Yeah.
fuck you." But now I can face my drama, face my shit, and be like, all right, and recognize that I talk about my mom's trauma and the stuff I went through with her, and she opens up a little bit of it at a time, and she tells me these stuff, and it's horrific. The stuff that she tells me
Mhm.
that she went through, and the stuff she normalized in her life. She's a great or she's a great not she's really good as a grandmother.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And to me, that's a blessing that that my kids are now, I won't have to worry about that. She's not drinking. She's not putting up with shit. And, she's starting to face her trauma too. And she's, like 60, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
that's what
so,
my mom's doing too. She's a great grandmother. She's really good to my kids, and she cares about them, which is awesome. And so uh, I'm really happy that how she is now, how the improvements that she's made in her life, and that she provides a safe place for my kids, and she's going back to a little bit more of the beliefs. For us, our people, we were protectors of the land. We were healers. We weren't angry people back in the day. We were here to we were tenders of the land. We were
Yeah,
part of it. It was part of us. It was part of our life. And it would be great if as a whole culture, as a whole people, we can get back to that, to where hey, we're back to protect each other. We're down to help each other out rather than tear each other down. Because honestly, it's the system. The system wants us to tear each other down. The system wants us to be trapped in it forever. The system wants us in the prison systems. The system
yeah,
wants us on assistance, dependent on the system itself.
yeah,
And if we can overcome that and surpass that, then us as a people, as a culture, there's only up, really, rather
yeah,
than talking and bringing each other down. Because I see a lot of separation, even here in Texas. There's many different groups, and each one of the groups or cliques, if you will, they hate on each other for some of the most minuscule reasons. In their minds, it's not small, but if you're on the outside looking in, that's a small reason to be angry at somebody. you know there's never really a good reason to tear somebody down. And
no,
so I think that if we can get back to that, to where we can all lean on each other, talk to each other, help each other out. Even as far down in Mexico, there's indigenous tribes in Mexico that don't even speak Spanish. There's more people in Mexico that speak their tribal language than Spanish.
yeah,
And they speak their original language more than the rest of the whole continent. And
yeah,
so, we're all indigenous tribes. We're all victims, but that's something that we can't change. What we can change and what we can control is our future and where we go from here.
yeah, most definitely. Even like what Bob says here too, he says breaking the generational trauma is a big one for my Maori culture too, guys.
Mm.
And the colonization of this Western civilization, you know, um, it's it's something that we deal with. It's something that I wish other people knew about too, instead of what the high school or the elementary schools and stuff taught everybody, that it was all hunky dory and this is what happened. No, this is, if we have to, hear about it. I mean, other cultures should be able to learn about it too, instead of trying to sweep us under the rug. Like, oh well,
Yeah.
and
Actually, there's a hashtag that I started starting whenever I remember. I I put it on my posts. Uh, but it's hashtag We Are Still Here. And
yeah,
what they're based on is that they're trying to educate, put into the education systems the true history of Native Americans, as well as uh what really happened in the colonization, as well as the enslavement, that what happened with from Columbus's people when they landed on the island, to the massacre that ensued afterwards, resulting in an entire tribe completely just wiped out. And so it's hashtag We Are Still Here, and they're built on like I said, sorry, like I said, trying to educate everybody to the real history, not to what's being taught in the history books.
yeah. Yeah, because it's definitely something that does need to be heard. And and with my son, I was worried about him because he's never cut his hair since he was born, and a lot of the kids were being bullied at school, being called girls, and all this other stuff. I was like, man, and I think the teachers got more involved with understanding, like, hey, look, they're not girls. This is their culture. This is who they are, and it's because there was kids that were they wanting their haircut because they're tired of being bullied, called girls, and all this other crazy stuff. And then with him, he doesn't have that problem. He doesn't have. I was like, does anybody try to pick on you? I don't say about your hair, but It's like, no, why? I was like, oh,
Yeah, and
okay.
it's kind of similar to something that like that down here too. Except it's a little bit different. So my wife likes to go to church, and there's a school that like a charter school that goes through her church as a facility, and they were trying to make our kids, my sons, cut their hair,
Oh,
and my
wow.
sons didn't want to cut their hair. We had to get an affidavit saying that it was against our religion, and
Yeah,
we had an elder sign it and everything. But I mean, it's definitely something that they shouldn't have to go through. They were really trying to force them to cut their hair. And here's the thing is like for their meetings, they like to call them powwows. And I'm like, oh my
oh,
gosh,
wow.
this is
Yeah,
so horrible. You guys are using, and it's Newman International Academy. They're like, well, we're gonna use powwows as our thing, and they use the Warriors, but they switched they. I don't know if it was something else before, but they switched it to like a Spartan type look character as their mascot. But
yeah,
they're the Newman Warriors, and every Tuesday they have powwows. And I'm like, wow, this is so racist. And you don't want to let my kids or my sons have their hair long. And I was like, in our culture, our history, this is something that actually happened to where they made all the native males cut all of our hair off. And, it was also an Abrahamic based religion.
yeah, yeah. And then I read this book. I don't know if you read it. It was the Russell Means Where the White Men Fear to Tread, and he was talking about the boarding schools and stuff and how they made him cut his hair. And then they gave him a card of Jesus Christ with his hair long that would go up to the mountains to have visions and fast like how we did. And it was just like, and he's like, and then we're being crucified, we're being butchered because we want to have our hair long, we don't want to learn, and then it's it's crazy. Like, I hope our generations, like, because I will never stop being proud of who I am, and my kids should feel proud of who they are, and everybody else should be proud of who they are too. I'm not trying to make them feel bad about the history or anything like that, but you should learn our history too. You know what I mean? All these Second Amendment people, I support them because, if the government ever tried to do something to them too, they have the means of protecting themselves, their lands, and like how we felt. We should have had, like you said, we had sticks and fucking. We weren't over there. People were like, "Oh, you guys went to war," and it wasn't like we wiped out the whole thing. It was just like, it was just something that happened between the tribes, and we weren't trying to conquer it. Oh, look, they got gold over there. Let's go over there. No, it was just like we were following the buffalo. We knew when to, grow crops. Just depending on what tribes you and stuff you are. Because my people were longhouse people. We lived off of the ocean, and we would trade with other people that had moose and all this other stuff, and we hustled, and it
Yeah,
was you know
for
so
sure.
there's so that's why
And
I started growing my hair long. I stopped shaving my head, and it's just like after learning about more of, like you said, forcing them to cut their hair. It's like, oh, dude, all right.
for sure.
Now
I've
you're gonna
been
bear.
growing my hair for a while now too. It's braided right now. It's about right here. When I play stickball, I wear two braids. It's a lot easier, but
Yeah,
and
that's what
actually,
that's
that's
what I
what
told my lady. I was like, you're gonna bury me in my braids now. You know what I mean? I'm
yeah,
not going with the bald head no more. But you know, um, and it's good to talk about this type of stuff too, because some people are miseducated or got their mind made up on Native Americans, and they're like, oh, they didn't go through that bad of stuff, and then you got these, and it's a new thing on like TikTok I've noticed where the black people are saying they were here first, and some weird. I'm like, what the? And then I try to chime in and hear them talk all this racist stuff about us, and then and then I don't want to get into with somebody that with a false narrative. Like, if you
yeah,
were there with us on the Trail of Tears, if you were there with us on, you know what I mean, Wounded Knee, if we had pictures of you in the boarding schools, because they took pictures and documented everything, and
Mhm.
there's no way that the priests are gonna out like, oh, look, there's a guy with the afro, I'm gonna take that out of the story. You know what I mean? It was just like,
Yeah,
and then it was like they got their own tribe, but it's this new thing on TikTok. They're trying to downsize and talk all this. They're like, oh, I can't. But there's this one dude from Oklahoma. He's a doctor. He's half black, half native, and he goes at it. I watch him, and he goes at it. Where's your documentation? Where's this? And like, who are you? And he was like, He's like, I'm a history major doctor. Wow, wow. And he's like, and I grew up on the reservation. Is I'm a part of the Oklahoma, and then he'll say the tribes he's from, and he's like, I'm very proud of it. And they're like, get out of here, you're a sellout. And he's like, you guys are speaking bad about your own ancestors. How do you think they went through all this stuff for you to say you're not from? I was just like, all right,
Yeah. And the thing
yeah,
is
that's
that because I've seen a lot of that too, and I'm not. I don't really like all too much. I mean, that's why genetics is kind of a wonderful thing, you know, because there's a gene. I want to say it's been about 4 or 5 years ago. They found a recessive gene that's in indigenous people, and it's really strong in South America and North America. The further north that you go, it gets a little bit weaker, and that gene they can actually follow it across the other way over the land bridge, and it grows weaker and weaker. And by the time it hits India, it's completely depleted.
oh wow,
And so
yeah,
it's more evidence that hey, they crossed over from this side going that way versus this way, that way coming this way, because
yeah,
the gene would be weaker in our continent than it would be over there. You know, and not only that, another genetics thing that's unfortunate about it is that the our darker melatonin brothers,
yeah,
uh, they share here in the United States. They actually share more genetics with Europe rather than they do Africa because of all the trauma and the rape and everything that happened to their people.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
being brought over. And so there's more European in them and everything else, and that's why because I talked to some people from from Africa, from Nigeria, Kenya, and all these other places that I meet that come over here, and they say, "Oh yeah, no, they're not Africans, they're not from Africa. They share more genes with the Europeans. Like they know about it over there, and that's
yeah,
why they're actually more racist to the ones here. So like if they go back to like Africa, they're pretty racist to them." Because they're like, oh, they don't share the same genes that we do.
yeah,
And what it is whenever a culture becomes lost, forgotten, erased, the people are lost. They look towards other cultures and try to say, hey, where do I fit in? You know what? I like this. I'm going to fit in here.
yeah.
And, that's something that a lot of the Caucasian people around here are starting to do. That's why we hear of so many people related to that one Cherokee princess.
I know, right? I
It's
wonder where
lost
she is. I want to see
culture.
a picture of her. I want to see a picture of her.
I joke around a lot, so like sometimes I mess with the AI ones, and sometimes they'll put on like a female native filter on there, and so I'll put, hey, look, here's the Cherokee
The
princess.
Cherokee princess. Yeah, my great grandmother was a Cherokee princess. Like, really? Okay.
It's so, but and I'm just like, it's just due to lost culture. People forgot where they come from. They want to fit in somewhere,
Yeah.
and they just don't know where, and they don't want to say, hey, just like for instance, again, there's more uh I guess black people that are more related to slave owners than any other culture here,
Yeah.
because like say uh a lot of the names, their surnames came from their slave owners because they were of that person, so that was the name they took on, was their old slave owner's last name.
Yeah, because that's what my friend Thomas was telling me about too. He was like, he's like, he's like, my last name's McGarity. He's like, "Do I look Irish to you, bro?" you know, and then it was. He said, "Exactly, little dog, lost souls who don't know their ancestry, and it's almost taken from us too, in our own land, in our own place. You know what I mean? And it's
and and
and
it's kind
it's
of rough because even in our own culture it's kind of that way too, where some people look down on others and like, oh, you're a mixed breed, well, you don't belong in the indigenous culture, you're not one of us because you're mixed. It's like, well, back in the day, if somebody came in, they accepted them in the tribe, they were part of the tribe.
yeah,
And
most
so
definitely,
blood quantum is a way to divide all of us. It's the government's way of keeping us all separate,
yeah,
and that's why I say, that we even divide ourselves, where we should all be united and standing together. Division has been spread in our culture so much that we're divided against other families within our own tribe.
Yeah, most definitely. Because like even I went to a longhouse ceremony out here, and for somebody who doesn't know their way, they were really like judgmental towards me to where I didn't want to go back to their ceremony because they were such fucking rude assholes about it. And it was just like instead of like, hey, don't do it this way. Hey, this and then I didn't even hear them say anything to me. They talked shit behind my back to where it
Hmm.
all came back to me. They didn't tell me nothing or corrected me at the time. And then it was just like a big thing. They were like, oh, what he's doing, he's selling. I was like, fry bread is not sacred. It is part of our culture to where we survived off of all our cultures and all our stuff when they tried to starve us out. But it's not sacred. It's like, oh, it's sacred food. He should just be giving it away. Like, how do you expect me to make a living? Like, yeah, it just didn't make sense to me. And they were that whole crew, that whole culture was just
Hmm.
all against me, and they still are. Like I just seen
Yeah.
one of them the other day. Like he was he was like he was trying to bully me, and I like I said I don't back down. Like and then he was just like oh now I hate him because he didn't succumb to my bulliness because he'll throw his weight around like I don't care if I get beat up or whatever happens, but you're not going to talk to me in that fashion or in that manner. Like I
Yeah.
respect everybody until they talk crazy to me, and then it's on. Like it's fucked up to have that mentality even at this age. But this it was like I just don't like if we can debate
Yeah.
about it, we can talk about it, we can have differences, and that's fine. But a lot of my friends, we don't agree. Like we're not supposed to. We're not all supposed to be like, oh yeah, yeah, you're right, bro. And it's just because what I think doesn't suit the next man, and I'm fine with that. And whatever
Yeah.
you talk about doesn't sit with me, and I'm like, okay, cool. I don't agree. Like but then I'm not going to sit there and I want to pound your face in, and it's like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
cool.
And
And that's still
honestly,
cool with these people, still cool. Like, I just, certain shit we don't agree on. Like, certain people try to bring up politics to me. I'm like, I don't care. Like I don't, like, I have a chief in my nation, so I don't really care. You know what I mean? I'm just like, it's like, that's all I care about. As long as my chief is taken care of and whatever,
Mhm.
and that's, you may not have the words to change the bills and legislation and
Mhm.
stuff like that. But that's all I care about is my culture, my people, and
For
and I am
sure.
empathetic to other people too. Other cultures, other causes, and
Hmm.
and but
Yeah.
just like anybody else, how they with their own people. That's that's how I feel. Like I accept my people, native, black, white, doesn't matter. You're my
Yeah.
people, you're my friends, like you said, you accept people into your tribe, and a lot of these strangers are more closer to you than your actual family, people in your tribe. They're more, you know what I mean? If
They should
you
know.
if you vibe together, then you got yourself a crew, you got yourself a tribe. You know what I mean? And,
And
and
it's up to us to also preserve our culture, our rituals, our language. I'm in the process of still learning mine. It's pretty difficult, but I do want to learn it. I want to pass it on to my kids because I believe that the downfall of our culture is us.
yeah.
We got people that don't want to teach other people because, oh, that's a half breed, or, oh,
Yeah.
they're not full. It's like, well, in order for us to be full, we'd have to be incest. But,
Right?
uh, and that wouldn't work out very well. But
No, it
anyways,
wouldn't.
and
We already seen what
so
happened to the kings and queens out there in England. That's how they are. They kept it. That's why they got a weird blood type over there. The kings and queens, Queen Elizabeth and them. They
oh, yeah,
really anemic and really, yeah, they really kept it in the
sickly.
family.
And so, but I try to learn it myself, teach it to my kids, pass it along because I don't want to be part of what's responsible for our culture's downfall, our culture being lost. We have elders that pass every year, and they take knowledge that was handed down for generations just ended just like that because they didn't they didn't deem somebody pure enough to learn. Or nobody wanted to learn it in the first place. And
Yeah.
so, like we had an elder in in my tribe, and she passed away in 2006. I never got to meet her, although I think it would have been really cool. But she lived so long. She had no birth certificate. Her earliest memory was, horse-drawn covered wagons, living in teepees, which is
Oh
a
wow.
long time ago. Nobody knew how old she was. She outlived multiple husbands, and she would
Wow.
have. She never ate processed food. She would have her sons, her grandsons, go out hunt for her. She would go into the mountains, pick her own berries and her own fruits and stuff like that. If it didn't come out of the ground, if she didn't pick it herself, or if it wasn't hunted or gotten for her out of the mountains, she wouldn't eat anything from the store. She had
Oh
black
wow.
hair. She didn't have any curve in her back. She would run. She was in excellent health. And
Wow.
I can't remember how many husbands she outlived. I think it was like three or four husbands. She outlived them. And
Wow.
but she only spoke Blackfeet, and she
Oh
only spoke the
nice.
language. She didn't speak any English. And it was like, man, that would have been, had I been more conscious about it when I was younger, I would have definitely have loved to like kind of sit down and, it's just things that you kind of look back on. And now I want to learn as much as I can so that way I could pass it to my kids, and it'd be something that we can keep going on, even in some of the things that I act in. I I try to bring up some Blackfeet names. I try
Yeah.
to words, if I can get away with slipping in a word in or something like that, or a joke that's indigenous or something that's related to my culture, or even names in my culture. I try to do as much as I can.
Yeah. I watched this thing on PBS the other day when they were doing like the John Wayne stuff, and they would get natives on there, and they'd come in and they'd be swearing on the set and they wouldn't even know. And they'd come in and they're like, "Oh, you stupid people, get the," they had the subtitles and they're like, it was crazy. I was like, oh man, they were talking major shit in their language and they couldn't, you know, dissect
Yeah.
it, or people didn't know and they were I was like that. I was like, that is so dope. Like they came back and they represented hard with that. Like it was, it was now found out, but they're like, oh shit, they were swearing at us and talking shit.
uh, I was watching a documentary, and because I thought I recognized the word, but I wasn't sure if I did, so I had to watch it a couple times. But in Wonder Woman 1984, the guy that acts beside her is indigenous, and he put Napi in there. Napi's from our culture, is from our from it's actually, it means old man, but his
Yeah,
from our legends on my tribe, and the actor is from my tribe.
that is awesome, man. See, it's in your guys' blood, man. I can't wait to do the second interview and get everything going. And yeah, let's go ahead and end the interview here. It was I hope everybody enjoys the introduction. I hope you guys like Little Dog and get to know more of his like you said, he's gonna be in the movie of the one that interviewed for. um and a lot of some people were commenting, they were looking for it. I inboxed them, was like, hey, look, there's people asking when the movies, I couldn't find it on prime time and they were looking for it. And do you know when the release date's going to be of that, or how we
For
can buy it?
Woods Are Alive, we're about to be going into filming for it. We're trying to raise more funds in order to be able to do it. The American Coyote, though, that one's supposed to come out next year in 2025. And
Okay.
so that I'm really excited about that one. I know that Marcus keeps saying that, hey, it was a really awesome scene. It was a powerful scene that me and JJ Fernandez, we did a great job in that one. And it was, I was a little nervous on it. And, I was pretty excited to do it as well. And whenever they kind of gave me the layout of what they were looking for. And when I first was going to go on down there, I was told initially that my character was going to die. And so I was preparing for that. We brought down Smudge and everything. And
Yeah,
then
yeah,
when we
yeah.
got there, they made a last minute change and my character was no longer going to die. And
Awesome.
it was another guy that I was acting with. And And I was like,
It
oh,
looked
okay,
like you're
cool.
about to die.
Yeah. And so they're like, well, this is what's gonna happen. Just come up with some dialogue, and then we're gonna do this, and then this is gonna happen, then we're gonna come back to you. And I was like, oh, okay. So everything that I did was just improv on the spot. So I had the gist
Yeah.
of what the idea was gonna do. The rest was improv, and it was put together. And they asked us in between, like, "Are you guys okay? Do you need water breaks?" And like at one point, like in the trailer, you kind of see me in there, and I have something over my head. I just kind of stayed like that. I was like, no, I got to stay like this. I'm a character. I can't just uncover my head because then I'm gonna lose it.
That is awesome, man. You know, if you were if okay, so say for instance, Reservation Dogs calls, are you going to go on to the set
Oh
and
heck
be
yeah!
part of the show?
I would love to connect with Starlin.
Yeah,
I would love to connect with him. I'd love to act on some of his stuff. I mean, he's really great at what he does. I'm very impressed. I tried to get onto the last season when they did the casting call,
yeah, yeah. I
but
remember that.
I tried to do the online audition one because I was down here in Fort Worth and it's up there in Oklahoma, and I had to do a little bit of work. So I was gonna try to audition that way, but I never got a call back. And honestly, if I would have went down there, I probably would have made it long after the line was a mile long. It probably wouldn't have gotten through anyways.
Did you see when
It's
everybody got mad at Auntie Beatrice for going on there cutting line?
yeah. It's so, but I would have loved to have been a part of Reservation Dogs. That was so amazing. I watched it
Man,
and I was like, oh my gosh, that is so hilarious.
yeah, I ain't
It
gonna lie either.
reminded
I
me
was trying
of
to
it.
end because when he's on the when he does the live, I try to I comment and like, let me do the catering. I'll drive right now to do the catering for your show. Let me do the catering, and I'll spam it. I'll be like, man, let me do the catering. And I know he's seen it. Like, oh, well, get a hold of this person. And I was like, oh, and then he ended the live. And you know how you can't go on TikTok, you can't go back and like here they'd be able to go back and watch and be like, oh yeah, look, we said at this part. And I was like, ah. I was telling my lady, it's like there's like 2 in the morning. It's like I was trying to get on Reservation Dogs. Like, what are you talking about? Like shooting for the moon. I'm shooting for the moon.
Yeah, I
Because
was
all a
like,
person could say is no. You know what I mean? All a person could
it,
say is no.
yeah, right. Even if I was like, even if I would have been able to do at least my roof for a bit, because I joke around on the doors. Uh,
Yeah.
that was one thing I learned was not to take things too seriously. So I joke around, and one time I was knocking at the door, and like I got distracted and I wasn't paying attention, and he opened the door and said, "What do you want?" And I was like, "Hey, how are you?"
Oh
I
man.
mess with people. I love it when they don't open the door because I'll do like the Mario kind of knock, the Super Mario knock, and then
Yeah.
they shout, they go, "Who is it?" And I'll stand there, and go, "It's me, Mario."
Oh man. See, you gotta have this sense of humor, man. You gotta have that. That's one thing about too is natives are blessed is with a beautiful laugh and great sense of humor, man. You know,
I'm gonna
and
put him
it's
in
always
TikTok
a
soon.
blast to hang out with people that have the same sense of style of laugh and then, being able to because you got some stoic natives that just like, all right, well, fuck you too then.
Well, I went from being a Victor to being a Thomas, so
There you go. Your dad's not gonna come back. They never do. They never do. Fuck that. Yeah, it's a great movie too, man.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Well, I appreciate
I
you,
had to
brother.
make
I'll
him
let you go
second.
ahead and get back to your day, and I appreciate you jumping on, man. I appreciate you guys tapping in, and yeah, we're gonna do next week. We're gonna do a follow up interview with you and your producer,
Yes, director. Her
director.
name's
Okay,
Debbie Paulson, and she's a descendant of the Ojibwe tribe. And
nice.
so she wrote a film and put it together, and it's based on the Ojibwe tale of the Wendigo. And so kind
Awesome.
of mixed it with a little bit modern time. So it's a horror show or a horror
Nice.
film. So
That is so dope. I can't wait to get you back on here, man. I appreciate your time. And yeah, it's really good to finally chop it up and get this out the way. We were talking for like a month. It was just hit and miss. Like you're working, I'm working, I'm selling food, I'm not selling food, I'm recuperating from selling food, and it gets hot in here in this food truck. When it's like 90, it'd be like 120 in here with everything going. Then I'm running around. So
I
yeah.
bet. Man, that's a you got your own little sweat lodge there.
Yeah, that's it. My own ceremony. Oh, Matake, I say. No, just kidding.
That's some blood,
Palamia
sweat, and tears,
Tentacular.
son.
Palamia. No, just kidding. All
Well,
right,
we know
brother.
it's
Watch
really hot if
Taylor.
the meat's a little extra salty, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Well, I appreciate you, brother. I'm gonna go ahead and let you get back to your day. I'm gonna go grab some stuff to go get out there. This is your boy Lucky Local. This is Little Dog, and look forward to if you guys comment. If you have any questions, let you know on the next one. We'll definitely get them in. I'll give you guys like 4 days ahead of time so you can tune in. I want you guys to come in. I'll start letting people on Facebook, Instagram, and everyone else know to where we're gonna get we're gonna get it going with the director, the stories, and then I definitely want to get the brother back on and get to know him more. I want you guys to get to know him too, and you should definitely build a YouTube channel and get out there because we got social media. We don't have the commercial money, billboard money, audition money. So get out there in the YouTube world and let's definitely get it cracking, brother.
For sure.
Yeah.
Appreciate you, man. I
Yeah.
appreciate
So
all y'all
if
watching
there's
too.
anything you want them to follow you
Thank you.
on your Instagram or anything like that, or your Facebook, and get to know more about you, go ahead and lace them up with your how to get a hold of you.
Oh, yeah.
Do you got
Okay.
any?
Well, my Facebook is Lafayette. What's up?
Yeah, if you can
Oh, I'm
let them know
sorry.
how to get a hold of you. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. My first name is it's really easy to look me up. It's Laffiama. Usually if you put that in, you'll be able to see me. And I think right now I have my IMDb meter, which is on there, which is an all-time high that I had so far. And it's black and white photo of me, my hair down, looking extra native. uh, and looking all deadly and whatnot. But anyways,
Yeah.
uh,
Anti-Slayer. Anti-Slayer.
it's that's my Facebook. Feel free to follow me, send me a friend request. I'm on Instagram under the same name. I'm also on TikTok. I haven't made a whole lot of content here lately, but I think I'm gonna start doing some of my knocks and putting them on TikTok. Just because every time I say them,
Yeah.
everybody gets a crack out of them. And just give me a follow. I follow back. And
For
then,
sure. For
if y'all
sure.
wouldn't mind, I've been posting up my IMDb link. I'm trying to beat my all time high record, which was I think it's like 43,000 on IMDb. The lower the number, the higher your ranking is, and so I'm trying to beat my all time high. I think it's like at 89,000 for Star Meter, but It's a popularity contest. The more people that look at it, the better my ranking is.
All right. Yeah. Definitely. Let me know. Post a link on my channel too.
Okay, I will do. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
All right, brother. Well, you have a great day, man. We're gonna get out of here. Tal Rob, Bob Amari, and everybody else in the chat, man. I appreciate you, little dog, and I'll definitely give you a shout here in a little bit.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
All right, for sure,
All
brother.
right,
You have a good one.
all
Bye,
right, you
bye.
too.